Okay, so we will start the live session now. So today will be the first live session in this 4-week course on electronic waste management issues and challenges. And I am the TA, teaching assistant allotted to this course. So what we will be doing is for the next 3 live sessions, every day or every time we meet, we will go through around 15 questions, assignment questions. So we will discuss those questions, and I expect them mostly to be awareness-based questions, theoretical questions. Uh, have a to and fro, back and forth discussion about it because I know that many of you have personal experiences with e-waste management related issues. Some of you are working experts in these domains, some are students. So we have a wide variety of audience in here, and it will be really enriching experience for both you and myself if we can make these sessions an interactive ones, because frankly speaking, the 15 theoretical questions we have, those we can take care of them in around at max 45 minutes to 1 hour. That is also too much. And this live session is itself from 6 to 8 p.m. So maybe since we will have participants joining in from time to time, in between, I will again go through the questions once again quickly so that those who are joining late, they can also have an idea on the type of questions that will be coming in the final examination for this course. So with that aside, and a bit about myself as well. So apart from being the TA on this course, currently I'm doing my PhD from IIT Kharagpur in the Department of Civil Engineering and under the supervision of Professor Rajesh Kumar Dubey and Professor Makarand Madhav Bhangrekar. And my domains of research are mostly on the management of organic wastes by converting them into either biocarbon, coal-like material, or hydrogen. So now we will start with the questions. So let me share the main slide. And please feel free to unmute yourself in case you have anything to share or any doubt. Either unmute yourself, or if you are comfortable, you can also use the chat box anytime, whatever suits you. Fine. So coming to the first question, very simple, very basic. E-waste is a term for, this is not even a question. So we already know that it is electronic waste. So there is no point in wasting any time on this question. This is an interesting question, and I believe that this is the only important, like very important question in today's set of questions. So this example asks you to identify which of these is a e-waste. So you can have around 30 seconds, 1 minute to think about it. You are free to use Google or whatever other sources you have to go through it, and you can put your answer on in the chat box, or you can also unmute yourself. So out of these four, which is e-waste? Nice. So that's the most common options that we will see, that most of us we will either go for discarded computer or discarded lead acid battery. So that is why B and C are the options that will confuse you. Now, if you see, like apart from electronic waste, there is also another category which is called hazardous waste. Because in hazardous waste, we discard materials which pose much more severe hazards to human health and ecosystem. Some of them can be, let's say, your nuclear waste. No, nuclear waste is a separate category as well. Hazardous waste can be a biomedical waste. They come under the category of hazardous waste. So now you just think about the components. If you have to discard a computer and then you have to discard a lead acid battery. And now you have got two categories. One is your e-waste, another one is your hazardous waste. So now you tell me, if I have to identify out of option B and C, which is the e-waste, then what will be the option that you choose and why? So I can see that most of you are going for option B, discarded computer. So any idea why not option C? Any guesses? Like it is very simple to even guess as well. Those who don't have a prior knowledge of what is hazardous waste, just you go by the term hazardous waste and you just visualize the components of the battery or whatever it is, you will get an idea. It has an electronic circuit, that is fine. It is why is option C hazardous? That is fine. Like you have rightly identified that option C, that is discarded lead acid battery, is a hazardous waste. But why is it that? Very simple. Just go with the name of words in option C. It is saying discarded lead acid battery. So it has got lead, and on top of that, it has also got a strong acid, H2SO4. So that is why you can't just discard it simply, because these are very corrosive. Acid is very corrosive and lead is toxic. So that is why this discarded lead acid battery is not coming under the category of e-waste, rather this is under the category of hazardous waste. And also I would like to just I want to know, has there been any past sessions on your this lectures on e-waste? Like, has Professor Dubey taken the lectures already, or this is the first live session before any of these topics have been covered? First live session. So most likely you must have already gone through the lecture slides of Professor Dubey. I am going ahead with that assumption that at least the first lecture slide is something that you must have already gone through. So let me see. I also have that set of slide with me. If we can find something that is interesting there and is relevant to the questions that we are going to discuss today. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay. So some of the interesting facts that defines e-waste is, like, if you have to say what is e-waste, then one of the ways is that it is dependent on electric currents or electromagnetic fields, and also for use with a voltage rating not exceeding 1000 volts for an alternating current, AC current, and not exceeding 1500 volts for DC current. So this is one such definition of e-waste that was coined by or stated by Townsend. So he is an researcher in this area. Otherwise, there are a couple of other definitions as well that you must have already seen, that any device connected to a power source that no longer satisfies the current owner to the purpose for which it was created, such as computer, television, cell phones, refrigerators, and ovens. So all of these are some of the commonly used example definitions of e-waste. So now moving on to the next question. Which of the following is the major component present in e-waste? And this is also another important question, and I hope that again most of you will be correctly able to choose the answer. Yes, option A is the correct answer. Thank you. Now, next question. Yes. In terms of the numbers, which e-waste is going to be in the topmost in near future? Yes, option D is the correct answer. Thank you for your responses. Quickly switching to the next question. Which country produces the most amount of e-waste? Okay, so I can understand there is a competition between US and China, but if you just have to still think and try to guess a correct answer, you must be hearing that these days we every day hear that China has become a manufacturing hub for various electronics, let it be mobiles or anything else. Like on most of the mobile equipments you see made in China, made in China, made in China. So that is why one idea that we get is, yes, China is producing a lot of electronics. That is why if you go and look at the data on the amount of e-waste being produced in different countries, you will see that China is also leading that aspect as well. So that is why in this question, the country that produces the highest amount of largest quantity of e-waste is China. But again, you can, like, I don't know whether you will come across such kind of data or not, but it exists. Whether you're talking about e-waste or any other kind of waste, if you have to quantify it, like there are different ways to quantify an e-waste. China is and right now the second most populated country in the world. So if you look at the quantum of waste generated in China, e-waste, it will be huge. But now if you look at the per capita e-waste generated in China, so per capita means the total amount of e-waste generated divided by its total population. So then that value will be different. On the other hand, now if you look at a country, developed country like US or Canada, in those places, if you see the amount of e-waste, yes, that will be somewhat less than total quantity of e-waste can be somewhat less than China. But then if you focus on the per capita e-waste generation, that means a single person, the amount of waste generated by a single person, if you look at that data, most likely you will find that developed countries like US, they generate much more amount of waste than developing countries like China or India. So that per capita data and the total quantum data, both of you will give you an interesting outlook on the e-waste related issues. So I guess that helps. And then next question, which of the following is or are the main causes of e-waste generation? Yes. So Mohit Sharma, you have chosen the correct answer. That is option. Yeah, actually, option C is also correct. So, whosoever is saying option C, that is absolutely true. Because just as we discussed right now, if the amount of e-waste is getting generated, it depends on the living standard of the population. Higher the living standard, more is the amount of waste generated. That is the common statistics that people have observed. But at the same time, we just discussed that population is another aspect that can determine the total quantity of e-waste generated from a geography. So that is why both population as well as the living standard, they are responsible for governing the quantum of e-waste generation from a certain region. So that is why option D, both A and C is the correct answer. Now going to the next question. How does e-waste affect the informal workers working in the digital dumping grounds? So I also have few studies here that maybe we can go over after discussing all the questions. Yes, they get sick and develop health issues because if you are looking at informal sectors, the way they recycle different components of the e-waste, because when you have to recycle, you often use strong acids which releases fumes, and those fumes, people who are in the informal sector, they don't have proper safety devices and personal healthcare devices to protect them from those fumes. Proper masks are needed, IVs are needed, so those things are often not available. So that is why when you have to recycle or treat these e-waste through hydrometallurgical, pyrometallurgical, cryometallurgical, like there are different ways to treat e-waste. In various of these, there are often emission of toxic fumes, particulate matters can also be there. So all of these pose a serious health risk to those who are working there without proper equipments. Now, coming to the next question, what is a good way to dispose e-waste? Now, this is a very simple one. Yes, absolutely true. Thank you for your answers. Option C is the correct answer. Now, next one, mismanagement of e-waste can potentially pose threat to the environment by which of the following reasons? Okay, option D. Let's see what is option D, 1, 2, and 4. So, mismanagement of e-waste can lead to soil pollution. Absolutely true. Leaching of heavy metals, that is also true. And option 4 is release of airborne pollutants. That is true. Yes, so all of these are the correct answers. Okay, so that is done. Now, recycling of e-waste can provide us with advantages in terms of what? Okay, so I can see that most of you have chosen option D. Let's see. Recycling of e-waste can provide us with protecting the environment. True. Economic benefit. True. Less waste. Absolutely true. So thank you for your options. Yes, all of the above are the some of the very obvious advantages of recycling e-waste. Now we have three true and answer based. Now, like five total, three in this slide, two in the other. So in the first top one, e-waste can cause soil, air, and water pollution if improperly managed. That is, of course, true because we have already answered a similar multiple choice question. Then next is most of the e-waste is non-toxic. I already know that you guys will choose option B as the correct answer, that this is false. And then e-waste should be disposed in municipal sanitary landfill. Now, this is the one that I want you to think about. Whether e-waste should be disposed in municipal sanitary landfill. So, is it a true statement or a false?
बजट का तो अभी बजट का तो अभी तो नहीं है। राजेश जी के पास शायद हो सकता है। मैं एक बार देख के फिर आपको भेज देती हूँ।
Yes, this is false because e-waste shouldn't be dumped in municipal sanitary landfills because there's a separate set of rules where it is not allowed to dump e-waste there. You have to handle and manage e-waste separately. So that is why this is a false statement. Then data can be hacked from discarded e-waste. Is it true or false? Yes, this is true. And then the next question as well, e-waste management rules and regulations exist in India, whether this is true or false. Okay. So thank you for your responses in the chat box. So we will wait for a couple of minutes because I would like to share some of the findings that are there in my other system. I will share my screen from there. So there are some interesting points that you might find of some value. I will stop sharing from here and share from somewhere else. Fine, so I will share my screen. Okay, Windows. Okay, so this is one of the papers that is there on e-waste management and its effect on environment and human health. So, like there are many such papers, scientific papers on different topics. So today we will be going through three such ones to just see if we can find something interesting here or not. So since figures often give us an idea about what is happening around the globe, so we will mostly be focusing on the figures. So now in the first figure, you can see that it is a graphical presentation of the e-waste generation continent-wise, as well as e-waste generation in the top five countries varying from 2015 to 2019. Fine, so now let's look into this figure. So what you can see is, if you look at the continent, you see the largest quantum of e-waste is getting generated from Asia and it is continuously rising till 2019 because after that the data is not covered in this particular paper. Then in America also it looks more or less a slightly increasing trend, but mostly similar. In Europe, yeah, it is somewhere constant, appears to be, and Africa also it looks like that. So mostly if you have to come into a conclusion, you can say that Asia is seeing a continuous rise in the quantum of e-waste. Now let's look into the country-wise scenario. So just as today we saw that in one of the questions, the answer, what was asked is which country was generating highest amount of e-waste. So you see this bluish colored one is China. The legend is here. So you see the China is the leading producer of e-waste. So it shows that kilotons of e-waste getting generated in each year. So it is also continuously increasing. And then the next highest is this one, USA. So USA is leading after China, followed by this blue colored bar, which is Japan. And then we have India and Germany. Where is India? Let's see. India is pink one. So yes, this pink colored one. So if I have to look at 2019, I can say that China is leading, followed by USA, then India, and then Japan. So this is the scenario. After that, now you see that in this table also, data is given that how much e-waste is generated, how much e-waste is collected. So if you look at Africa, you see that the e-waste collection rate is so small, almost zero, but 1% I can say that almost 1% of the e-waste is only collected. In Asia, it is a bit better, around 11.7%. Europe, it is faring much better because it has got more money they have got, so they have better infrastructure available. So the system in place is also quite robust. That is why they have got around 42.5% of the e-waste collection efficiency. So these two were some of the interesting findings. So we will scroll down and see if we can find some other interesting observation or not. Okay, no need to look into that. Yeah. Now this is a figure that shows, you see that the pink colored dot is the source country where the e-waste is generated, and this purplish one is the destination country. So let me see what else is there. Yes. So the e-waste generated by USA, it is being exported to, you see, Brazil, India, then this red arrow is going to China. At the same time, European Union, they are also doing something similar. They are exporting their e-waste to different parts, China and Brazil mostly. Then India is also getting e-waste from USA and European Union, and I think Australia as well. Japan is also, since generating huge amount of e-waste, they don't have the infrastructure or space there to handle it themselves. So for that, and even if they have, it is much cheaper, economically feasible, and financially sound if they rather send their or dump their e-waste in other countries. In that way, they don't have to spend extra cash for treating or handling the waste themselves. So that is why there are many things that are playing behind the scenes, which makes these countries export the e-waste to other places. So this is one interesting figure that was there, and now this is another one. Roots of pollutants threatening the environment and human health due to informal e-waste recycling adapted. So today also we had a similar question where it was asked that informal handling of e-waste, it causes it poses serious risk to human health. So now you see that the top one is a crude and unscientific e-waste handling system. What happens is on the right hand side, there are some legends that you can see. A refers to leachate, B refers to suspended particulate matter, C to fly ash, D effluents, and E fumes. So we will make note of that as we go. So when there is uncontrolled dumping, it is happening, yeah. So let's just focus on this. So once the uncontrolled dumping is taking place, what is happening here? It says that is not. So the arrow from here goes to open acid leaching or hydrometallurgy. So from uncontrolled dumping, people are taking the e-waste and then treating it unscientifically and in an unengineered manner through various leaching techniques. And during these techniques, you see what comes out? D. Toxic effluents come out. What is C? Fly ash is generated. A and B are what? Leachate. Leachate is a kind of liquid. The name itself is leachate. That means something that is generated after leaching. Fine. And B is a suspended particulate matter, means dust, something that is suspended in air. You keep on inhaling it or it deposits on your skin, causes eye irritation. So there are a number of issues. So all of these are generated from this hydrometallurgy acid leaching based pathways. Then open burning is there. So that also causes C is your fly ash, B is your suspended particulate matter. So what these things tell us that the informal recycling is usually taking place through leaching, pyrometallurgy, dismantling and shredding simply, and then uncontrolled dumping, all of these stuff. So there should be some better figures out there that can give you a more easier way to understand what all are the side effects of e-waste mishandling. So we might come across them today, but let's move on to some of the other data sets that we might have. Yeah. So now you see that increased concentration of heavy metals into the environment due to informal recycling of e-waste. So when e-waste is recycled unscientifically, so just for you to go through this and some of the key elements that might stay in your mind is what are there that is emitted into the air. So this first few elements are arsenic, cadmium, copper. Copper, so you must be already knowing that copper is one of the great conductors of electricity. So that is why it is often used in electric circuits. So copper is there, chromium, cobalt, nickel, zinc. So all of these things, these emissions are taking place due to open burning. So you see, if there is an open burning, so in China it has been observed that the concentration of manganese in the air increased. If there is a crude recycling technique or practice going on in Bangalore in India, so there also people have seen that manganese concentrations have increased in air. In the same way, now let's look at the soil. In soil also you will find chromium. This is the data from NCR in India. Their chromium is being found in soil, mostly chromium, then cadmium, all of these heavy metals, and they're often carcinogenic, having various other health impacts. So chromium, cadmium, lead, arsenic, like this in air and soil we have seen. In water also, similar observations have been noticed. So now after this, let's go to the next figure. What is the caption? Involvement of key stakeholders in e-waste management system. I guess anyways you will be coming across these kind of figures in the class, in the lecture slides taught in the class as well. So first is manufacturers or producers of electronic equipments, and there is a term called extended producer responsibility, which is being promoted by governments all across the globe, where the producers or the manufacturers of different equipments or materials, they have to be responsible for some kind of management system of the waste that will be generated at the end of life of those equipment. Let's say you are a mobile phone manufacturer, you have prepared a mobile phone, it has a certain lifespan, and once that life is over, obviously the consumer is going to discard it. So, as a part of extended producer's responsibility, you notice the keywords here. That extended producer responsibility means there's the term extended. Producer means someone who is producing, responsibility means he has to take care. So, if you are a manufacturer of the mobile phone, right at the designing phase of the mobile phone itself, you have to be careful enough to establish techniques, supply chains, logistics that should be there, so that once the life of the mobile phone has ended, there should be a system so that the mobile phones will be collected systematically from the consumer, or at least this system is a bit something that the consumers can reach out to, so that the end of life mobile phones it reaches back again either to the producer or to some third party who are adept in handling and treating, or let's say dismantling and then processing that waste. So the best example that you can see around ourselves is the mobile exchange that we see on Flipkart, Amazon, and various other sites. Whenever we are buying a mobile, there is always an option that you can exchange your older one. So that is one of the most beautiful example that you can see. So again, coming back to the figure, so that's what the top arrow on the right side yellow box says, that responsibilities of producers to follow directives laid down by different agencies, governing bodies. Then once the device comes to the consumers, now they have to be responsible users, because why it is important? Let's say we are generating some waste, e-waste. So of course, this has already been discussed that you can't throw e-waste into a municipal waste handling site. Or so, in other words, if you have a dustbin at home and something waste, tube light or something else is generated, uh, technically and ideally, and as by regulations, you are not supposed to throw that in the dustbin, and that dustbin, all the contents will be then given to the waste collection person or vehicle that is coming out, and they will ideally then throw it to some municipal solid waste management system. Because the term is municipal solid waste, that means the solid waste, typically including paper, plastic, some organic waste like vegetable peels, food waste, stuff like that. So the municipal solid waste handling system is not meant to tackle your e-waste. So if you are contaminating the municipal solid waste management system with e-waste, which is not supposed to be there, you are increasing the burden on your municipal solid waste management system and also reducing their efficiency to handle and process the ideal type of waste that they are supposed to expect. So that is why there's a responsibility on the consumers as well, because they are key stakeholders into the system. Because after some point of time, or even in fact now, taxes are being levied on various communities, various people, so that whatever waste you are generating, you have to also pay for the treatment of this waste or scientific and careful disposal of the waste. Then the electronic wastes are generated. So there is a proper collection stream and mediums where the waste is collected, transported to different centers, segregated, and this segregation takes place formally and informally both. The segregation that happens while mobile exchange, that is a more formal route, and while those that we often sell to the kabadi walas in our homes, when they come, we might sell them old TVs, washing machines, and stuff. So that, of course, comes under the informal recycling, goes to the recycling center. So there are different types of techniques out there to extract the valuable elements and compounds from the e-waste and then put it back into the economy. So this is the gist of this figure. Then after that, what is this? cradle to grade, cradle to cradle e-waste handling approach. Okay, so cradle to cradle e-waste handling approach means basically this pertains to the concept of circular economy, saying that in a circular economy there is a difference. If you have to, it's better if I show you a figure. That will be much easier. Difference between linear and circular. Yeah, so that will be helpful. So basically in linear economy, what happens? This is one good option. You see what people do is they take something from the nature, some resources, prepare something, let's say your mobile phones, and dispose it. End of discussion. And the mobile phones lies somewhere in the landfill or dump site. No one is scared about cares about that, and you're daily just keep on mining and taking more resources from the nature to produce something and then finally discard it. What circular economics does is that it takes something from the nature, or first, initially, it was taken from the nature because somewhere there should be a source. Then, after being used, it is dumped at some place. So, this dustbin that you are seeing, it is the dump site. But now in circular economy, what we do is instead of again burdening the nature or the natural resources for deriving more products, what we do is we look at the disposed materials, disposed products, take out valuable elements from there, process them, make them into products, and then use them. So you see now from a linear economy, we are switching towards a circular economy so that recycled materials, reused or refurbished materials, and processed materials, they are getting used. So in this way, we are moving more towards sustainable development and reducing the burden on your natural resources. So why we discussed about this is that something similar is being done in a sustainable cradle to cradle approach where first some raw material is taken from the nature, it is transformed into a product, the product is used, discarded, it goes through several processes, and then again after its recycling and treatment, it comes back to the main supply chain. So this is done, and then we saw the conclusion. So now let's look at the other paper. So this paper is titled as Global E-Waste Management Can Waste Electronic, what is the full formula? Waste Electrical and Electronic Equipments, WEEE. Can waste electrical and electronic equipments make a difference? So it's a review on that, focusing mostly on the recent trends, legislations, contemporary issues, and future challenges that there might be. So again, we will first look at the figures, but in here there are less amount of figures. So here again, there's a general trend from 2019 to 2030. People have drawn this projection to see the amount of waste electronics generated. So you see that there is a continuous increase. That is also what is expected and concluded in other studies. Now, region-wise, so while going through the questionnaires, you remember that I had discussed about the quantum of waste generated in different geographies. So if you have to rank each geography, you can rank it in two ways. One is either you can focus on the total amount of waste generated, in which case China was leading. And next, remember that I also asked you to focus sometimes on the waste generated per capita, that how much waste each person is generating. So both of them can be conflicting and can give you different outlooks. So this is one such example. So I will expand this figure and you see here. So on the top, there is a waste electrical and electronics equipment generation per capita. So it is kg per capita per year. So you see that even though China was a country that, sorry, as a whole was generating the highest amount of waste, but like highest amount of annual waste, annually highest quantum of waste. But now if you have to bring the population into picture, you see a developed economies like United Kingdom, Switzerland, USA, Australia. So these countries we see that individually people there, they are producing much more waste than developing countries. So let's try to find China here. So you see China is somewhere here. So even though geography wise we saw that yes, China is producing huge amount of waste. But when I am taking into account the population and seeing that how much sustainable a individual is, a person is, then you can see that in China, only 7.2 kg per capita per year of waste is generated, while some places like UK, Switzerland, and Australia, more than almost three times of the quantum is generated. So this was the example that I was trying to show to you. Now there are some other figures here as well, which are continent-wise in Africa. So there are different places. So now the take-home message from this particular figure, so looking into the perspective of your population, so you see that the people living in UK, Switzerland, Australia, US, Japan, in all those places, Canada, Hong Kong, Finland, mostly European countries and developed areas. So there, the per capita waste generation is huge. While in countries like China and let's say if India is somewhere here or not, yeah, India is here. So you see in India, just 2.4 kgs of waste is generated per capita per year. So it is even much, much smaller than that of China. So that is what I was trying to explain. And the data is being for this figure was taken from a study which was published in 2020. So I'm expecting that this data is not that old. And if even if we look at the current scenario, there shouldn't be much deviation. So this was a very interesting figure that we saw. Now moving on to some of the other data that we might have. So again, summary of the WEEE management changes that we can see is that among the total waste generated, so in 2019, less than 20% of the waste was officially collected. So this is the official data. Although EU directive collection is that 45% of the waste put in the market in yes. Okay. So what this EU WEEE directive collection targets, so what it says is 45% of the total electronics and electrical equipments that have been put into the market after 2019 should be able to be collected by the waste management system. So that is what their target is in European Union. But their job is a bit easier because once they collect this, they have a systematic route to export that waste to different geographies. So now we will see this figure by region. So this is again another one. In here, among the total quantum of waste generated or what people are expecting to be generated from each continent. So the dark colored one in here is the percentage of collected waste and the lighter one is not collected. So you see in Africa, why is this 2.9? Let me see the units. Okay, so don't go into the data or even if you want to, you can, but because there is something wrong with the units here. But if you want, yeah, units is here, figures in million tons. So you see that almost entirety of the waste generated in Africa is not collected because total waste generated is 3.2 million tons, and out of that, only 0.03 million tons is collected. In America, the scenario is a bit better. Asia is similar. Europe is having superb waste collection efficiency, and then Oceania this. So now, do we have anything else? I don't think so. Yeah. Select material contents of waste electrical and electronic equipments and quantities. Let me see what this figure is trying to say. So there is a term known as urban mining of waste electrical and electronic equipment. So what it means is that instead of mining something from the natural resources, we have to mine something that is, let's say, a electronic waste dump site or landfill or a collection site. So instead of relying on the natural resources, look into the wastes to mine your required elements from there. So you see, like there's iron. So China, Australia, and Brazil are the top primary producers. Copper and the quantities present in this waste electrical and your electronic equipments in kilotons, that is also given. So that was something interesting. What is this? Okay, so that was helpful. So now we will go into the last slide that we want to, last paper that we want to review today. So it is on again review on e-waste management and its impact on environment and society. So if I have to talk of the human habits, so 58, so some study was conducted, so it's found that 58% of the population, they want to resell it, 28% exchange it, and this grayish colored ones is 3%, they want to dispose them off, and 6% is others. So now what will be interesting to see in which geography this study was conducted. So and the study is also old, it was conducted in 2013. So yeah, so you see that this particular figure is based on the data from a paper that was published by Guerrero, and it is a paper of 2013, and it looks into the cities in developing countries. So try to assess the public behavior pattern in those places. After that, this is again the e-waste production. We have already looked into it. This is the country of origin and dumping pattern. This is also what we have seen. US is dumping it into Africa, various other places, India, South America, Africa, India, Australia is so primarily US, Europe, Australia. They are generating waste and dumping it wherever they are finding it easy and economically feasible. The next is again e-waste generation in India and e-waste generation in different sectors. So this is will be interesting because it's India pertaining topic. So most of the e-waste is generated from government, public and private sector. Household is generating 15% and electrical and electronic items that can go to 15%. And then consumer wise, most of the e-waste is basically household appliances. 34% is also a significant fraction that is coming directly from the IT sector. So household and IT sector, they are the major contributors to e-waste generation in India. Then some consumer electronics and others are there. Apart from that, what is this figure? And again, India's electronic waste generation till 2025, the present year. So this is something that was projected at some point of time. Okay, so this is e-waste production in tons per year in top states in India. So this is an very old data of 2012. So during that time, if I have to see which place was generating highest amount of e-waste, that would be Maharashtra, 20%, followed by, let's see, what is the highest, 20, followed by 13% in Tamil Nadu. So these two were quite some significant contributors. Okay, so basically this was some of the areas that I wanted to share with you today, and as you must have seen already, that it took us barely your, let's see, let me put my laptop to charge it. Charge it. Is here. Okay. So as I had just mentioned that due to the nature of the questions that we had discussed, and it would at max take us around 1 hour to go over various topics. After that, if you have any doubts, any questions, so you're always welcome to share your points or experiences in different places. It will be quite enriching for all of us. And in fact, even if you are seeing something odd going around yourself that you are thinking that, okay, this is wrong and can be done in some other way, that will also be quite something to hear. So,
Hi, Rajarshi, can you hear me?
yeah, Namrata, you are audible.
Actually, I had a few questions. First thing is, we have all asked certain questions on the discussion forum, but I don't think any of those are answered. So this is one
Okay.
problem that we
So,
have.
one problem is questions in discussion forum.
And
Right.
just now you were explaining a question. E-waste management rules exist in India. So do they
Mm.
exist? I know that there is a law on e-waste, but are there enough rules and regulations? Was it what is the correct answer to that?
Like, if we have to talk about the rules and regulations, they are enough. I can say more than enough, but where we are lagging is those are not even followed in most of the places. So, what we have seen is forget about the e-waste and focus on the easier part, that is the municipal solid waste handling. And our lab, that is Professor Dubey's lab, so we have already got various sites where our teams they visit those sites, collect the waste from those sites, municipal waste handling sites, to see whether uh, actually what the waste management rules say, actually whether those are being followed or not. Even in those so-called projected areas that are saying that we collect waste separately, segregated manner of connection is there. But unfortunately, what we have seen is that in most of the places, that is not the case, because when we go to collect the data, even in a municipal solid waste handling site, we see that there are, let's say, medical wastes are there, we used syringes are there, and various sharp objects like you can see your blades, pieces of glass. Electronic waste is again very common. So all of these things we have noticed. So what we realize that even though there are enough rules and regulations out there, but there's a serious issue in implementing them.
Okay, and in the slide that the presenter of the content has put up on the board, there are certain places where the unit MT is used. Okay,
Empty,
MT,
empty. Okay, okay.
empty. So I want to know because there is certain confusion that I had while going through the
Mm-hmm.
those slides. Is it a metric ton or is it a million metric ton? Because everywhere it is written in a different fashion,
True, true.
and I was not able to conclude through that data. So
Yeah,
that
so
was one
can you
question.
share me like what particular data, so that will be helpful. This is also another common doubt that we also face when going through some lecture slides.
Okay, uh, just a second.
Ideally, there is a way to क्या होता है इसको, what is that called? So there is a way na to annotate different units, metric ton, million tons.
Yeah, I wanted to know whether it is a million metric ton,
Right,
a
right,
metric ton, a megaton. What is that MT? Because I was confused looking at
right.
that. It is in the first week content, uh,
Week one, okay.
week one content.
Let me see. Yes, okay,
Probably you
week
can
one.
look at the slide.
Which slide?
Give me a moment. If
I
anybody,
got the slide. It is slide number
yeah,
18. It says the e-waste growth rate in India in capital MT.
yeah,
So the value is whatever it is multiplied by 10,000 and then by capital M and capital T.
and there are a few more slides if you
Okay,
will
okay.
see.
So if you look at this, it says that India is the fifth biggest producer of e-waste in the world, discarding 1.7 million tons. And in bracket they have written capital M and then small t.
Yeah,
So if I have to compare that with this, let me see. Million tons, 1.7 million tons. So if I see here, 2014, somewhere. Okay, so the source is taken from there. Let me check. Yeah, so this is a common confusion that people. So this capital M and small t, this is most likely your million tons.
So you mean 10 to the power 4, right?
10 to the power 6, I guess.
6. 6, okay. Capital M and small t. Okay.
If you're facing similar doubts, now what I often do is that I cross-check the data with some of the other published ones in, let's say, some reports. So that often helps me to validate what the person is trying to say with MT.
Okay, if you have a perfect answer for it, if there is any other session, kindly.
Ideally, like if I have to go by law, like how it should be written, then capital M and small t, that is million metric tons.
Okay.
So that is the ideal way to write it. But if someone is mistaking it and writing it some other way, so that might be an issue.
And there is a last question that I have.
Mhm.
How much um, e-waste is produced is recycled in India? In slide number 21, it says 5%. In slide number 28, it says 4%. Week one
Okay.
content.
Week one, slide number 21, facts and
21
figures.
and
Yes.
28.
So 5%, what is that saying? About this million tons of US disposed each year accounts 5%. Uh, Informal sector accounts for 95%. Which slides you told? Slide number
21 and 28.
21 and 8. Okay, barely 4% of the e-waste produced in India is recycled. That is clear. So now I have to look at 21. So 21 says 50 million tons of e-waste are disposed each year. Fine. After that, accounts 5%, but then there is a full stop. So it is a bit difficult to understand accounts 5% of what. Then in the last one, so if I have to just find a better answer. So the one in slide 21, na, so it is not clearly written whether it is the recycling efficiency or collection efficiency. Rather, in the last point, it is written that informal sector accounts for 95% of the e-waste recycling and only 5% reaches to authorized recyclers. And in the second bullet, it says that 20, 10 to 20 some million tons of e-waste are disposed each year and then accounts 5%. So in your slide that you are referring to, so is there anything else written after 5% value?
No, nothing is written after that. It
Okay.
says only 5% e-waste reaches to authorized recycler.
So that means 5% of the of the total e-waste generated, it reaches the formal recycling this recyclers. Authorized
You
means
are
that,
saying that 5% reaches the authorized recycler,
yeah.
and then
So
to the
let
contrary,
me
the
say,
other says 4% of
you
e-waste
see,
is produced in India is recycled. So out of
so
five,
point in 28th slide, what it says is barely 4% of the e-waste produced in India is recycled. Okay. So that means if there is 100 kgs of free waste, out of that only 4 kg is recycled. And then if I come to,
including both the sectors.
yes, and if I come to 21, so then out of that 4 kg, 95% of it is this informal recycling and 5% is your formal recycling.
Okay, okay. And
So I can see that there are a couple of questions in the points in the chat box as well. So I'm going through them. So yes, Diya Singh has also raised her hand. I will come to you, Diya. Just give me a moment to go through the chat box based questions once. It is possible to upload the lecture materials in the form of PowerPoint presentations. If that is not feasible, you see the lecture materials that are being shared by Professor Dubey or the sessions that he takes. So that should already be available on some platform NPTEL from where you are accessing it. And the ones that I am sharing, so I upload it into an online this on what do you say, that Google Drive, and then I share it with the NPTEL team. So they are, if you ask them, they can share with you both the links of these questions that we discuss every day, and then on top of that, these videos of our live sessions, they are also uploaded on YouTube. So in fact, even if you're not able to get your hands on the slides or the questions that we discuss, you can quickly go through the videos, look, focus on the questions, that's it. So I think that will be helpful for Lakshmana. And for those format of one page sheet, and also I am actually not into all those areas. My role is to just look into the TSA based ones, and these are some details that if you are facing some issue, you can write to the NPTEL team. So they will be the ones that can help you out with this. I hope that answers your question. And then Kishore Tariq is kindly share the previous batches assignment questions. So the ones that I am discussing or will be discussing in the next coming 3 live sessions, these are including the questions that have been discussed in the previous classes as well or previous sessions. So if you attend these sessions, you can like get your hands on the questions. No response on the discussion forum. Yes, I noted that, so I will look into it if we can do something about it. Then, okay, yes. So Dia had raised her hand. Oh, she has left the meeting as well. That's fine. So yes, any other questions from the audience?
Hello.
Yeah, Lakshmana.
Sorry, sir. I'm really sorry to bring this point again. So you will not be able to help me out with giving that material. Is that correct?
What material? Like exactly, I guess you are expecting for the slides that Professor Dubey teaches, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And he has uploaded it, but unfortunately, it's in the form of 6 sheets per page, which is really difficult to read. I
Okay,
mean, I
okay.
just wanted.
Actually,
Uh,
I am not authorized to share this with anyone because if there's a proper channel to go around it about it, so I really advise you that you write to NPTEL people. They are really active in responding to your queries, so that can be helpful. And still, I will take a note of your request and will inform the professor to see if something can be done about it or not. So
Please, please.
instead of
I really request you because it's really small and I can't understand. I mean, I
got it.
have eyesight issues. So, and you are telling we can go to a discussion forum, right? In that, we should raise this issue, right? Is that correct?
Definitely, whatever issues you are facing, you can write it on the discussion forum, specifically these kinds of and technical issues as well. Like maybe something you are not able to understand those stuff. And also these printing based issues, you write it in the technical forum. Also, I urge you to raise it with the NPTEL support team as well.
NPTEL support. Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Got
you
it.
can
Got
mail
it.
to them and put a CC to the Professor Dubey. His ID is there, college ID. You put him in CC and request for sharing maybe 2 page, like 2 slides per page. So it will be much more to read it, easy to read
Yes.
it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Uh,
One more small request. Is it possible? Can we have like after 4 weeks before the exam, like March 23rd, can we have a practice test? Is it possible?
Slides. Practice test, actually, I am not looking into, like, I am not involved in all those areas about taking the practice tests or not. But if you want, we will have an extra session after the 4 week sessions, an extra live session, where if you want and others are agreeing with it, so we can have kind of jumble of questions, number of questions, and maybe you can take that as a practice question. So in each question, I can have around give you 15 seconds to 30 seconds. So that can be helpful. Otherwise, I am not capable of arranging something like that. So if you want that, you can again NPTEL support and Professor Dubey, they can be of help.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I totally understand. This would be really great. After 4 weeks, maybe a small session
Yeah,
with really tough question, because my college is a little bit particular. What they want is, as I'm a teacher myself, learn all this material and give it to the students. So the more I learn, the more I will be able to disseminate to the students. So that is the
understand.
purpose here. Thank you,
So in
sir.
the
Thank you.
live session, the extra session that we can like discuss few more questions as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, well. Okay, so we have something in the chat box. Let me check. Okay, Sheikh Atif, you have enrolled on 27th Jan. So what should I do about the week one assignment? Sheikh Atif, I think like since unfortunately what I am supposed to do is that I have some set of questions and some other slides or points to discuss with you. So that is what I take care of. If you are concerned with this, whether you can take like do the assignment week one, again in such kind of questions, you are always you should write to the PMR this NPTEL support, CCing the professor, so they should be able to do something or can at least give you some clarification about it. Sorry that because I am not involved and I don't have any role to play on all these matter, so I cannot do anything about it. Ansari Rahman, Rehan, students were registered a day before and again, I think Ansari Rehan is also asking a similar question about your week one assignment. So you should write to NPTEL support and you can also always put these queries in the discussion forum so that we can ask the professor to go over it and also under such cases write to NPTEL support. You don't need to hesitate about anything while writing to them. Whatever issues you are facing, just bring that to their notice. So any other queries from the audience? Otherwise, what we can do is that I can take a 3-minute break and then quickly go over all the questions in today's session so that people who have joined late, they can also have an idea. It shouldn't take more than 10 minutes, 5 minutes in fact. The first paper title, please. Okay, what I will do is that I will share the links of all the papers. So whatever, now I don't remember which one was the first, which one was the second. So let me check if I can upload the PDF here or not. So I am copying, pasting. So in these papers, there is a DOI. So I'm pasting that link. You please check whether you can access the entire paper or not. This is one example. If more than one answer is correct in assignment, but there is only one option you choose, then what to do? So ideally, if that's the case, Kajal Gupta, like you have a MCQ question and you have more than one correct answer, ideally it should be coming under the category of multiple choice questions. But in case if due to some issues a single correct answer based question is showing multiple correct answers, then that should be taken care of by just like in a proper manner. So either marks should be allotted to all the students who attempt it, or maybe that will be taken out of uh, evaluation based questions. So let me know if you are able to access the review papers or not. Can you give answers for assignments? Like I can give, but once the date of assignment submission is over, so then only I can discuss this, but because otherwise it doesn't solve the purpose of the assignment. So I have pasted the DOIs of all the papers that we have gone through today. You can try to see whether you can access them or not. Yeah, actually, these questions have been prepared with mostly by Professor Dubey, and he has a set of his TAs. So they work on preparing these questions. They are the nature of the questions that I mostly believe is it is related to spreading awareness about the electronic waste, the significance, and all those stuff. Most relating to that, and not that technical, scientific, and engineering based ones. Okay, so I will quickly go through all the questions again. Yeah, not able to access. So can someone please confirm if there is a way to upload it on Google Forum? Can someone quickly confirm that so that if this can be, if the PDFs can be uploaded on Google Forums, so that can make our job easier. I will go through the questions and those who participants who have been here from the beginning, they can in the meanwhile take a quick look and just let me know if we can upload the PDFs on Google Forums for all the other students to go through them. Fine. So coming back to the questions. So the first question was e-waste is a term for electronic waste, obviously. Then which of the following is an example of e-waste? So this was interesting because discarded computer is a e-waste and not discarded lead acid battery. It is a hazardous waste. Then which of the following is the major component present in e-waste? It is plastic. Then in terms of the number of waste, cell phones or mobile phones are the uh, point that is generated most in terms of the number of waste generation. Then which country produces most e-waste? It is China. Then which of the following is or are the main causes of e-waste? That is both population growth and increase in living standards of population. Then how does e-waste affect the informal workers working in digital dumping grounds? So there are various kinds of risks that they face while collecting those waste. There can be they are exposed to heavy metals that can in fact be carcinogenic. Then while recycling them, also various fumes, aerial emissions are there. So the chances is that they get sick and develop health issues. Then what is a good way to dispose e-waste? Option C, give it to a reliable e-waste recycling company. Mismanagement of e-waste can potentially cause a threat to environment by option 1, 2, 3, and 4, I guess. Sorry, 1, 2, and 4. Soil pollution, leaching of heavy metals, and 4 is the release of airborne pollutants due to uncontrolled burning. So option D is the correct answer. Then recycling of e-waste can provide us with advantages in terms of your protecting the environment, economic benefit, less waste for final disposal. So all of the above is the correct answer. Then next are all true and false. Very simple. E-waste can cause all these kinds of population pollutions if improperly managed. True. E-waste can be non-toxic. E-waste is non-toxic. That is a statement that most of the e-waste is non-toxic. That is false because e-waste, they all have different kinds of metals, heavy metals in them, which are really toxic. E-waste should be disposed of in a municipal sanitary landfill. This is false. Municipal sanitary landfills are not meant to handle e-waste. Then data can be hacked from discarded e-waste. Of course, this is true. You discard your mobile phone, it gets a chance to get hacked. E-waste management rules and regulations exist in India. Yes, that is true. It does. So these were the questions that I wanted to share today. So I can see that I wanted to know whether on Google Forums we can upload the assignments or not. So if I am from my side able to do so, or if I got the papers, thank you. Okay, great. That solves the issue. So we can like we have discussed and all the questions that were there today. So no more questions left to discuss. So if you want to leave the session, you can leave anytime you want because I will be here for some time because this is a 2 hour session, but for the participants, it is not mandatory to stay online for the entire duration because uh, there is nothing more to discuss as of today. And on in the next week, I have noted the queries raised by you, so we will be addressing them and also going through some new questions and maybe some other interesting papers or findings or articles like that. Where can we get the recordings for this session? You can write to NPTEL support again to share you with the link. In case they are not able to do so, please let me know in the next live session. In case they are not able to do so, I can share the links with you. And where did you get the papers from? Actually, I am accessing these papers from the college, so from IIT Kharagpur. So since in this college network, we have the subscriptions to these journals, so that is why we are able to, luckily able to access them. And the papers that we get from is like you can just simply type you want to see what is all is happening in the R&D world or in various other places as well, policy making. So you just type something that e-waste management in India. So you can often find that there's a Google Scholar link that leads you to different research articles where people do research or some statistical analysis also being done. So like that. Data can be hacked from discarded e-waste. Can you please clarify? It is very simple. You have a mobile phone, you don't clear all the format all the data, you just throw it somewhere so anyone can hack it. Same goes with the computers as well. So if you are discarding your computer, laptop, something, and you have not properly raised all the data, so people can access the whatever is passwords or whatever is stored there in the computer memory and can use it for different purposes. I hope that answers your question, Sai. Yeah, well, if there is nothing more, can I please leave? Yes, like you are not, this is not mandatory to stay online for the entire live session. Participants can leave whenever they want. So please don't bother. Other study, other study where we will see any website. Okay, so I will show you how you can do that. So one of the unfortunate thing is I don't know whether like some of the news that I see that there is something going on like from the government of India, like one subscription, one nation kind of stuff. So where uh, I guess the entire nation can access various scientific papers. So I hope you can see my screen. I will just type something random. So I want to see recovery of precious metals from electronic waste. You see, I just typed this on Google. So when I type this on Google, this is the general screen that pops up. And if you go down, since we have a habit of going through research papers, so that is why this comes on top of our screen. So when Googling, you see like papers like this, recovery of precious metals from electronic waste, and then something is there. So you right click here, go to the place. So this is a research article. You can find this on Science Direct. So Science Direct is one such platform of a publishing house which is known as Elsevier. So Elsevier, you can see it is written here. So like that, there are many publishing houses: Elsevier, ACS, Wiley, RSC. So like that, these publishing houses, they regularly publish various research articles that people do research, review, and various things people are doing across the globe. So for example, this is one such article on recovery of precious metals from electronic waste and spent catalyst. Like that, this is a review paper. And if I have to find something, so there is Springer as well. So this is one of the easiest ways. Otherwise, what you can do is you simply write here Google Scholar. In Google Scholar, this will come. So now Google Scholar has number of whatever you write here. You write your solar panel waste management. I've typed here, and now you see Science Direct. You get a review paper on global status of recycling of solar waste solar panels, like that. So you see here, from here you can access different papers. I hope this helps. I will type this thing here as well. You can make a bookmark out of it. That will be helpful later on. So any other queries from the participants? Anything else you can write in the chat box or unmute yourselves to say. Okay, so I will take a break of around 5-10 minutes and I will be here. If you have anything else to add, you can use the chat box. So I will look into it what it is. Okay, so I can see that there is a query on any reference of this reference book available. So I will actually I don't usually go through these books, mostly on articles. So I will try to find some, and in the next class up, I can let you know. I'll make a note of that. And to clear the paper, weekly videos and PPT slides is sufficient. Yeah, that is sufficient. You go through the videos and slides, solve the assignment questions. I think that will be more than enough. I hope that answers your question. Any other doubts from the audience? Any other points that you might have? Okay, so last call, like if you have any doubt, any queries, please feel free to use the chat box, or you can also unmute yourself to point out anything particular or any query. Otherwise, if everything is fine, we can call it a day for today's live session, and we can meet in on next Tuesday. So I guess we are all good here. So I can terminate the session now, and we can let's see you again.